This is planet Earth, in all its glory, in all its fury. Be amazed at what nature is capable of. The power is incredible. These are the world's best places to feel nature's fury. Billion years in the making, and it's not finished yet. Planet Earth is seriously unsettled, ready to devastate and destroy. And it does, in gushing, earth-shattering, steaming hot, violent ways. The furious forces of nature. Freak weather is a killer. Earth's shifting crust causes chaos. Tons of water drowns the land. It's unpredictable and uncontrollable. Nature reveals her fury in different ways. Some of it, you can get so close, you can feel the power. Some of it, you want to stay far away. And some of it threatens to destroy the planet. We're going to count down the top 10 most powerful and destructive forces. From number 10, the reasonably tourist-friendly, through disasters that you can still run away from, to number 1, the guaranteed wipeout. Feel nature's fury, the top 10. Rivers flow downhill to the sea. A trickle becomes a torrent. When it falls down a massive, sheer cliff, it's gravity in action. In our countdown of nature's fury, raging water comes in at number 10. It's a powerful force, but we can still feel safe. It's guaranteed to stay in one place. Water constantly shapes and molds the planet. It has enough power to erode landforms. Tons of water flowing fast down a river is impressive. Falling from extreme heights, it's a whitewater spectacle. At 80 miles per hour, the power is incredible. Here are the world's best places to see some phenomenal waterfalls. Niagara Falls, shared by Canada and the United States. Get in, get on, and get under the most famous and accessible falls in the world. 5 million people visit them every year. The Niagara River plunges down 167 feet into Lake Ontario. Over 1 million gallons of water per second tumbles over the edge. You can get close in a boat, but don't forget your raincoat. The water is so powerful the falls have eroded 10 miles from where they started. But over twice as wide and high as Niagara Falls is Victoria Falls, on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. One of the 7 natural wonders of the world, the mighty Zambezi River plunges over a 350-foot-high precipice into a massive chasm below. The mist from the water rises 1,000 feet. The local people call the falls the smoke that thunders. The roar of the water can be heard 30 miles away. But South America is the best place to see the power of falling water. Over twice as wide as Victoria Falls is Iguazu Falls, 2.5 miles of waterfall where Argentina meets Brazil. Iguazu means powerful water. The equivalent of 6 Olympic swimming pools of water plummets 300 feet every second. 275 separate falls carry 7 times more water than Niagara. But the one that beats them all for sheer height is north of here in Venezuela. Angel Falls is the highest uninterrupted waterfall in the world, 20 times higher than Niagara. Unlike Niagara, it's difficult to get to, and the best way to see it is to jump off, if you dare. It's more than 3,000 feet down into the dense jungle of Devil's Canyon in Venezuela's Caniama National Park. It's over twice the height of the Empire State Building. The top of the falls is so high, it's in the clouds. There's definitely enough time to free fall a bit before you get to parachute out. This is raging water at its most extreme. 5 facts about whitewater. It begins life as a glacier. It's been carving canyons for millions of years. It's a challenge for breeding salmon. It has the power to run turbines and light up cities. Fast and unpredictable, this is one boat ride you'll never forget. But however tall or wide a waterfall is, it's still relatively under control. It can't come after you. As we move up the scale, we'll see that nature's fury just gets harder to run away from. Next up, raging waters that defy the fundamental laws of gravity. Waterfalls started our countdown at number 10, but at number 9, the water power is faster, hotter, and prefers to go up. Nature's fury reaches boiling point with gushing geysers, a violent phenomenon you can get close to. Underground water meets hot magma. This makes hot, boiling water, which either shoots to the surface as a geyser or bubbles to the top as a hot spring, or in pools of bubbling mud. What appears on the surface is only a hint of what might be brewing below. These places are spooky. The top 4 destinations to see the heat of the planet bubbling to the top are Lake Bogoria, located in Africa's Great Rift Valley. The greatest rupture on the Earth's surface, running from Lebanon to Mozambique. It's home to 30 active volcanoes and countless hot springs and geysers. These soda lakes are highly concentrated with sodium carbonate. The flamingos love it because the weird conditions provide their main food, algae. The heat and pressure caused by underground volcanic activity causes rainwater to heat up to around 600 degrees. Iceland. Another place to see hot water going up is one of the coldest places on Earth, a cold place to see some really hot water, a place of geological extremes. The country has 200 volcanoes and more geysers and hot springs than you can count. The locals use the water to improve their health and for making electricity. The same geologic activity that creates the volcanoes provides an endless supply of geothermal energy. This country virtually runs on geyser power. New Zealand has a heavy concentration of geysers. This is some of the Earth's weirdest plumbing. Geysers have also been known to kill. Here in 1903, bodies were found 800 yards away from a geyser eruption. You'll find strange, steamy things, all reminders of our planet's birth. 5 things you'll find in a geyser: carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur, silica, bacteria, and algae. But the greatest place for geysers is here, Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone has about 10,000 hot springs and 200 geysers, more than anywhere else on Earth. The heat generated by all these thermal features is around 300 megawatts, enough to run 3 million light bulbs for an hour. One of the biggest geysers is Old Faithful. It's been erupting reliably and amazingly predictably for 300 years. Each blow has about 10,000 gallons of hot water. Not far below the steam is the reason for the heat. Violent magma lies only 40 miles below the surface. The Earth's crust is normally twice this thick. Geysers are only a small hint of nature's fury, a sign of something more devastating. As we continue to count down, things just start getting a little less predictable, a little harder to run away from. When we come back with number 8, feel the heat with the power of natural electricity. Every second of the day or night, lightning strikes the Earth somewhere. It will strike and kill 1,000 people every year. At number 8 in our countdown of nature's fury is lightning. It's more deadly than geysers at number 9, but still fairly predictable. Most people have seen it, but few of us comprehend the power behind the strike. Lightning is a warm storm, 5 times as hot as the surface of the sun, a shocking way to experience nature's fury. Each strike consists of 2 strokes. The downstroke moves at 1,000 miles per hour, and the return stroke travels at half the speed of light. One bolt can be 3,000 feet long. Lightning is destructive. 200 forest fires worldwide every day. It's all electric. Inside a big storm cloud, powerful swirling winds act like a big dynamo, churning up water particles and freeing electrons, which makes a massive electrical field. Positive charges from the ground meet negative charges from the cloud to generate 100 million volts. So don't get too close or stand under a tree. Electric nature can kill you. 5 trees lightning prefers to strike. Sequoias are hit more than redwoods. It's never kind to a pine. Same with the elm. Beware the oak, it draws the stroke. Avoid the ash, it courts the flash. Thunder is the deafening result of lightning. It's so hot up there that the air expands at supersonic speed, making an incredible crash and crack. Light travels faster than sound, so you can calculate just how far away a storm is by counting the number of seconds it takes for the thunder to arrive after seeing the flash. The storm is about a mile away for every 3 seconds that elapse. Thunder and lightning are usually an ominous sign that there's something worse on the way. Every day, 40,000 thunderstorms occur throughout the world, everywhere except Antarctica. They often happen in the summer. Tropical areas like the Caribbean are a guaranteed place for a thunderstorm. They often break out in the afternoon after the morning sun has stirred up the air. In more temperate zones, like parts of Africa, a long spell of hot weather often ends in a tumult of thunder and lightning. The most thunderstorm-prone area is the southeastern United States, the ultimate place to see the fury of lightning. It's the second biggest natural killer in the U.S., with nearly 100 deaths and 500 injuries each year. In Florida, the moist, warm climate offers prime conditions for lightning. Annually, there are more thunderstorms and more lightning-caused injuries and deaths in Florida than in any other state in America. Lightning is the most frequently encountered weather hazard. It earns its place at number 8 because it's still avoidable if you take precautions. You can still hide from it. Lightning is frightening, but at number 7, what it can trigger is bigger. As we continue our countdown of the top 10 of nature's fury, things just keep getting hotter. At number 7, wildfire is one of Earth's most terrifying powers, but it's still avoidable if you stay out of the forest. When nature lights a fire, it's an unrelenting, destructive force. It's hard to forget the fury of wildfire once you've witnessed it. There are 2 attitudes to fire. We trust it and we fear it. When a wild forest fire rages out of control, traveling at 80 miles per hour, it can easily destroy everything in its path. All it needs is fuel and oxygen to make light and heat, reaching temperatures of up to 6,000 degrees. There's no stopping this primitive chemical reaction spreading like wildfire. Forests are flammable, and with the help of lightning and hot summer days, can easily break out in flames. The wind makes it more unpredictable. Fire is often part of nature's regeneration cycle, but in extreme conditions, a forest fire can turn into an unstoppable inferno. In hot, dry areas, fire is an ever-present threat, not just to forests, but to human life and property. This is one hell of a natural phenomenon. Fires start where it's hot and where there's lots to burn. In the African savanna, wildfire is feared. But a little fire is good for burning off old vegetation, allowing new green shoots to thrive, food for the animals. But when it rages out of control, it will asphyxiate those who can't run fast enough. In the United States, fires have played an important role in the evolution of American forests and grasslands. Each summer, hundreds of thousands of wildfires break out. Most are caused by human carelessness, but many are due to lightning. They occur in the dry prairies and even in the moister Everglades. It takes 300 years for a forest to recover completely after a fire. The ultimate location for regular infernos, Australia. A continent that suffers from drought. It's full of plants that contain highly flammable oils. Eucalyptus trees need fire to weaken their pods, enabling seeds to be shed. Things get dry and extremely vulnerable. Sometimes the fire is confined to the bush, where it's necessary for regeneration. But when it rages out of control, it threatens other living things. A terrifying, flaming scene develops, where escape is sometimes impossible. Fire has no mercy for the farms, towns, animals, and people that stand in its way. Started by man or nature, forest fires can be cataclysmic and often environmental disasters. But you're safe if you stay out of the forest. At number 7, the power of fire is still a force we can sometimes control. In our countdown of nature's fury, it's getting harder to run, and we've just begun. Next up, rain. It can put out the fire, but when it rains, it can pour. More water power at number 6. This vital element for life is heavy and carries great force. A house full of water weighs 400 tons. In the form of hail, it becomes an attack of destructive ice bombs. Like rocks, they pelt down fast, causing all sorts of damage. They can be as big as golf balls and as huge as grapefruits. Rain can destroy towns and whole populations in one big downpour by overflowing rivers that have nowhere else to go. Floods are nature's fury, unleashed. When water decides to reclaim the land, it can be devastating, especially for those who live by a river. Big downfalls cause rivers to burst their banks, inundating the surrounding land with massive quantities of water. The unstoppable power of a flood can be catastrophic, killing and making homeless thousands of people all over the world. The fertile land of the floodplains makes great farms for lots of people. The increased population and deforestation makes the land more prone to flood disasters. Here are the rivers with the biggest floods. The Nile is the longest river in the world, running over 4,000 miles through 10 African countries, from Burundi to the Mediterranean Sea. The ancient Egyptians planned their agriculture around the yearly floods because the floodplains were so fertile. In 1988, Khartoum, the capital of Sudan, was devastated by a flood that drowned thousands and made over 1 million people homeless. The Mississippi. When America's longest river floods, it's a disaster. This vast system of 100,000 tributaries has always been prone to flooding. Even though levees have been built, this river still has the last word. When floods occur in the spring, 60 cubic miles of water are in motion. The huge tide of water moves 30 miles a day. Serious floods occur every few years. In 1986, record-breaking rainfall drenched the upper Mississippi Basin, causing widespread devastation. The floodwater washed across 23 million acres, damage estimated at more than $10 billion. This river will never be tamed. But the most disastrous river is the Yellow River. Known as China's Sorrow, it has killed millions, more people than any other river in the world, and has caused immense damage to property and land. Avoid its banks when the rains come. In 1931, 4 million people were drowned, and 1 million lost their homes. 8 years later, a further 1 million died when the river once again breached its banks. The river is 60% silt. This is where it gets its name and the reason for its deadly reputation. The silt blocks it up, causing the water to flow easily onto the land. But the wettest places on the planet are India and Bangladesh, home to the Ganges River. Here they experience extreme monsoons, the worst torrential rains in the world. They begin when summer sun heats up tropical areas far faster than the oceans around. 200 inches of rain can fall in India's wet season. For 6 months of the year, it's parched and dry, but for 6 months, it rains and rains. It's a wild and very wet time for most of the population. The Ganges River starts in the Himalayas and flows for over 1,500 miles through India and Bangladesh to its enormous delta in the Bay of Bengal. When the monsoon rains come, the river floods and can spread disease among 550 million people. In September 1978, in the state of Bengal, 1,300 people drowned and 1.3 million homes were destroyed when monsoon rains swelled rivers to flooding point. In our countdown so far, nature's furies are getting more and more dangerous and less predictable. At number 10 and 9, you can stand safely back and watch the power of water going up and down. At number 8 and 7, you can avoid trees during a lightning storm and a forest fire. Number 6, avoid riverbanks when it rains. The next 5 nature's furies are faster, more unpredictable, and if you're nearby, very difficult to escape. At number 5, we see millions of tons of water freeze, get heavy, and get fast. Next up, the fury of an avalanche. World's best places to feel nature's fury. Number 5, the fury of tons of moving snow falling at 200 miles per hour. Avalanches cause hundreds of deaths every year. There's little hope if you're caught in front of one of these. You'll never run faster than an avalanche. They can wipe out whole villages and bury hundreds of people alive. Snow can be fun, but it can be deadly too. When a massive snow pile on a mountain becomes unbalanced, the slightest disturbance can start a snowball effect that you'll never forget. It will crash down into the valley below, burying anything and everything in its path. In mountain ranges around the world, snow accumulates. Repeated freezing and thawing makes the snow unstable until it finally slips. Something might trigger it, like an earthquake or a skier. As it falls, it grabs more snow, ice, rocks, and debris, and by the time it reaches a valley, it can be moving with terrifying force and power. Deaths and injuries come from suffocation or from the tremendous air blast that precedes an avalanche. This can shatter houses with the force of an explosion. If you're in its path, all you can do is hope you stay near enough to the surface to be dug out. Precautions to take for an avalanche. Invest in an avalanche transceiver. Never ski alone. If you get caught in its path, get rid of extra gear and brace yourself. Hold your breath, make an airspace, and swim. Spit to work out which way is up. Put a hand up and shout when you hear people. The chances of being rescued from an avalanche are very slim. The White Killer continues to take lives every winter in mountain ranges around the world. like the Rocky Mountains, extending from Alaska to New Mexico, the second longest mountain range in the world. In the Canadian Rockies, nearly 300 people have been killed since 1970. The Andes in western South America, the longest mountain range in the world. This is an area of great geological instability. Earthquakes and other disturbances are common. Many thousands have been killed here by avalanches. The Alps. These European mountains suffer the most from avalanches. 85% of avalanche deaths occur in the Alps. They have been recorded for centuries and still occur today. Austria and Switzerland each report an average yearly death toll of between 25 and 36 victims. Switzerland has the most avalanche fatalities due to the number of homes at high altitudes. As we count down, nature's fury gets faster, more powerful, and way more terrifying. The power of oceans is coming up. Number 4 on our countdown to nature's ultimate fury is the phenomenon of giant waves. At number 4, there's very little chance of escaping these if you're out at sea. And a coastal tsunami is one of the most terrifying forces on the planet. The Earth's biggest feature, the ocean. It has been there forever and is getting bigger. 2/3 of the planet is covered in water that's on average 2 miles deep. The ocean's unpredictable force is capable of much destruction and death. It's a place that will never be pacified. The ocean's violence has definitely had its victims. If you're out at sea when a storm breaks, there will be nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. You'll have to contend with the massive waves the wind will whip up, the real power of the seas. The distance traveled and speed of the wind determines the shape and height of a wave. The bigger the ocean, the bigger the waves. Most waves are caused by the wind, but the really big, destructive waves are caused by a force much more powerful, one you definitely can't run away from. Tsunamis are the result of earthquakes and volcanoes that erupt hundreds of miles away from where the waves strike. These huge walls of water can reach speeds of 680 miles per hour, be as long as 125 miles, and as high as 100 feet. They form way out at sea, travel in trains, and crash onto land at such speeds that they destroy anything in their path. The world's deadliest tsunami yet killed 200,000 people along the Bengal coast in India in 1876. But the shores around the Pacific are renowned for their extreme surf. It is the most dangerous area on the planet for tsunamis. The Caribbean has had 22 major tsunamis over the last 400 years. Hawaii is renowned for big surf and extreme surfers. The force of a tsunami in 1946 wrecked most of Hilo and killed 159 people. Parking meters were bent like pretzels. But Japan suffers the most when it comes to the destructive power of giant waves. Undersea quakes make their harbors susceptible. The worst ever struck the northern island of Honshu in 1897. An earthquake 93 miles offshore killed 27,000 people. These are the big 5 oceans where you'll find giant waves. The Arctic Ocean is extremely frozen. It's also the smallest ocean, a mere 1.5 times the size of the United States. It's centered on the North Pole and is mostly covered with ice up to 14 feet thick all year. The Atlantic Ocean, the youngest ocean, is a good place to start if you're looking for trouble. It has a massive underwater mountain range right down the middle. The Atlantic has a habit of fogging up, which is a big hazard for ships. The Indian Ocean is a monsoon hotspot, bringing rain to India. It's a meeting point for the Earth's moving plates, so definitely a tender spot. The Southern Ocean near Antarctica, a place to get lost at sea and feel some seriously cold temperatures. The Pacific Ocean is the biggest ocean, 18 times the size of the United States, bigger than all the land on Earth put together. The Pacific doesn't always live up to its name. A violent place, it has the biggest belt of explosive volcanoes. Waves are terrifying, but nature's strength just gets faster and harder to run away from. Next up, the ferocious force of the super winds. At number 3, the devastating power of wind. Relentless, fierce winds appear from nowhere. They are frightening and unstoppable. Big winds have the power to flatten whole towns. Big winds have the power to kill. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are whirling tropical storms that can blow at speeds of 220 miles per hour. They start in the oceans and travel to the land, bringing the ocean with them. Over the course of a day, they pick up about 2 billion tons of water vapor. Sometimes predictable, impossible to prevent. Storm surges are the most destructive part of a hurricane. Usually in the form of super high tides, surges are responsible for 90% of the deaths. But nature's most ferocious, furious, and fastest winds are tornadoes. Even more intense, they can blow it up to 318 miles per hour, the fastest wind ever recorded. Tornadoes are a spinning funnel of wind formed within a storm cloud. They build up so much energy, they eventually burst out of the main cloud mass. While winds race around the outside at incredible speeds, the pressure at the center of the twister plunges much lower. This creates a kind of tunnel, or vortex, that acts like a giant vacuum cleaner, sucking things into the air, tearing the tops off trees and blowing out windows. These whirling terrors leave a trail of destruction. They roar past in a few minutes, tossing people, cars, and strong buildings high into the air, then smashing them to the ground. Some travel distances of up to 220 miles before finally running out of energy. Some of the worst super winds blow around the tropics, places like the Caribbean. They build up here because of the moist, warm air. But the most destructively windy place is Tornado Alley. The states of Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas, and Oklahoma all get hit by devastating winds. Cold, dry air from Canada meets warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. Tornado Alley is home to more twisters than anywhere else on the planet, about 700 a year. 5 more extreme winds. Stinging sandstorms are horrific and literally blinding. Besides the extreme heat, these are the most terrifying features of the desert. Winds of up to 90 miles per hour will pick up tons of sand and hurl it for miles. Blasting blizzards. When snowfall is accompanied by strong winds, it's impossible to see anything, causing chaos for transport and communications. Dust devils, mini tornadoes that occur in hot, arid regions. Ash devils, winds whipped up over ground destroyed by fire. Water spouts, tornadoes that form over water. Weather is a killer, but when the Earth itself starts cracking up, there's nothing you can do. Earthquakes are the second scariest thing to rattle the planet. Coming up at number 2, you'll never escape the ground moving beneath you. At Number 2 in our Nature's Fury countdown, earthquakes are unpredictable killers. The thought of the solid ground beneath our feet cracking up is too terrifying to contemplate. Sometimes when the earth shakes its plates, you don't feel it. But when the earth really decides to quake, it picks its moments and its places. They usually happen out at sea, but we really sit up and take notice when they hit the highly populated cities. When the pressure between the moving plates is released, the sudden displacement of rock causes the ground to tremble and shake. This is an earthquake. The energy that comes from it is transmitted in waves, which can crack and split the ground, distort the land, destroy buildings, divert rivers, trigger landslides, avalanches, and tsunamis, and turn solid ground into quicksand. Every year, there are over 1 million earthquakes, mostly tiny tremors, too tiny to be felt. But the big ones are not to be ignored. We have no warning and no control. They happen all over the planet's surface, but when they hit the big cities, the destruction is tremendous. Hundreds and thousands of people can die. Around 75% of the world's seismic energy is released at the edge of the Pacific. The famous San Andreas Fault runs through Southern California for 700 miles, from the Sea of Cortez to north of San Francisco. The Pacific Plate moves 3 inches every year, dragging the edge of the American continent with it. San Francisco's most devastating earthquake struck on the 18th of April, 1906. It reached an astonishing 8.3 on the Richter scale. With one twitch of the Earth's plates, 800 people died and 33,000 homes were ruined. It caused a fire which raged for 3 days, doing more damage than the earthquake itself. In 1989, the fault shook California again, and in 1994, Los Angeles was rocked by another quake, which left $30 billion in damage. Even though Californians have designed buildings to withstand earthquakes, there is always the constant fear that it will happen again. Japan is shaken by more than 1,000 tremors, greater than 3.5 in magnitude each year. The country sits on 900 active faults. An earthquake prediction center works round the clock, trying to spot earthquakes before they strike. Japan has suffered a major earthquake every 10 years. Each kills thousands. In 1995, in the city of Kobe, 5,500 people died. An earthquake has struck Tokyo regularly for 12 centuries. They strike approximately every 69 years. The next one is due now. The top 10 of Nature's Fury has finally reached number 1. Numbers 10 and 9 were wild water that you can get close to. At number 8 and 7, we saw some of the planet's hot stuff. You can still witness it, but don't get too close. Number 6 and 5 were water power again, but this is water you shouldn't mess with. Number 4 and 3 were forces that aren't much fun if you live in the wrong places. Number 2 is completely devastating and uncontrollable. At number 1, it's the Earth gone berserk, and there's no way of telling when it will happen. Impossible to predict. The ultimate example of nature's fury is a volcano. Hot and seriously explosive fury. The ultimate disasters waiting to happen. Top of our countdown list at number 1, the most powerful and ferocious monstrosities that threaten our planet, eerily silent, waiting catastrophes. The fear of the unknown. We just can't tell when they'll go off. Volcanoes are formed as the result of violent and dramatic eruptions in the Earth's crust. Red-hot molten lava can travel at speeds of 60 miles per hour, while clouds of poisonous dust blast into the air. Their erratic and destructive powers have destroyed whole cities. Disaster for those who live near one and for thousands of miles around. The ash from a big volcano is enough to change the climate of the planet. These weird mountains with their tops blown off are found where the surface crust is thin and weak and the ground is splitting. When they erupt, there's no stopping them. This is nature literally blowing her top. The boiling hot lava, killer gases, and blinding ash can be devastating. Of the 1,500 active volcanoes on the planet, 20 or 30 will erupt every year, plus the ones we can't predict. These volcanoes around the world could blow any time. In Italy, there are 3 big ones threatening to go off. Mount Etna in Sicily has 4 active craters. This is Europe's largest active volcano. It erupted in 1983 and took the tourist center with it. Stromboli is a continuously active volcanic island. Vesuvius is famous for covering the ancient cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum with superheated ash. Scientists are worried it will erupt again. If it did, the effect would be cataclysmic for the 2 million people who live in its shadow. This makes Naples the biggest city in the world, as people actually know they're threatened by a volcano. Montserrat in the Caribbean currently has the most active volcano in the world. It has suffered many eruptions between 1995 and 97, forcing its residents to evacuate. Everything was covered in ash. The Pacific Ring of Fire is the name given to the huge belt of volcanic activity that stretches around the Pacific Ocean. There is more seismic activity in this area than anywhere else in the world. Southeast Asia has had some violent eruptions. Krakatau erupted on an uninhabited island in 1883, an explosion 26 times more powerful than the largest ever H-bomb test. The noise could be heard 3,000 miles away. A resulting tsunami, 19 miles wide, killed 36,000 people. Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines erupted in 1991 and released 12 billion tons of magma. It affected global temperatures for the next 2 years. Hawaii has many volcanoes. Kilauea is the world's most persistently active volcano, steadily spewing lava into the ocean. But these are only babies. The big one will take most of the United States with it and plunge the whole planet into an ice age. The supervolcano. Underneath this bubbling, steaming mess, there's a huge disaster waiting to happen. Yellowstone National Park sits on a huge, collapsed volcanic crater, 28 miles wide and 47 miles long, 3 times the size of Los Angeles. 5 miles beneath the surface lies a huge magma chamber full of molten rock. It erupted 600,000 years ago when 600 cubic miles of magma exploded over a large part of the country. It's now due to go off again. It would be like the planet being hit by an asteroid, causing a nuclear winter that could last years. There would be nothing anyone could do. Volcanoes constantly change and shape our planet. Some have the capacity to destroy it. In our journey to discover nature's ultimate fury, volcanoes take their place at number 1, the most awesome, unpredictable, and frightening power on Earth.